Welcome to another episode of One Idea Away, where we're committed to living more fully, deeply, and consciously. Why? Because when we do, we're calmer, we're clearer, we're more connected, more joyful, and much more alive. On this show, we bring you stories of those that are figuring it out just like us, as well as experts who can shed light on the hows and the whys all of this stuff works. So I want to thank you all for tuning in and sharing and reviewing our show. If you haven't done so yet, please drop us a review. Also, subscribe to the podcast on our feed, whether it's on iTunes or whatever app you happen to be using. And if there's something that stands out in the show, do us a favor. If it makes you think of somebody, share it along, because this show is meant to get the conversation started, not just to drop in for a little inspiration. So with that, let's turn to this week's episode. Today's episode is sponsored by, well, us, One Idea Away, and very specifically by the 10 Days to Connection Challenge. You see, we ran this really interesting experience for our community in a slightly smaller way to bring people into greater connection with themselves, to clear away the mental clutter, to detox their hearts so they could be more open and free with the experience of life that they were having. And it went amazing. We received such incredible feedback about how wonderful this process was and how freeing it was for people to really connect to life in a deeper way and move past all the stress and the chatter and all the things that distract us on a day-to-day type of basis that ultimately disconnect us from who we truly are and the life that we love. And so this 10 Days Connection Challenge is meant to help you clear that clutter, that mental chatter that keeps you from connecting to that happier life. It helps you to create the space that you deserve to simply take a breath, to uncover what makes you happy, and to let go of anything that isn't working. You get to detox your mind, detox your heart, and connect to that life that you wish to experience, and learn how to bring it out more in you and in everything that you experience on a day in and day out basis. It's just 5 to 10 minutes a day for a week and a half, and it's one of the most beneficial things you can do for yourself to create that space that you need to connect to the life that's waiting for you. Just go over to oneideaway.com/connect. That's oneideaway.com/connect. And I look forward to joining you there. We're sitting in the living room on my couches, and I'm there with my wife, Dawn, my son, Jake, who's nearly 10, and he's sitting just to the side in a nice kind of comfy armchair. But the room feels a little bit uneasy at the moment. You see, my son was really getting frustrated over trying to learn something new. He was getting a bit upset, and then he was starting to get down on himself, which just, it's so tough to watch as a parent. And then my wife tries to just let him calm himself down, to give him a few moments to just kind of settle in and work it through. And at that moment, I offered him just a couple of thoughts, a little encouragement, a little reminder of what he already knew and how that could help him here. Well, that did not go as planned at all. You see, it didn't work because he got more upset. He didn't want the help, and he didn't want to hear it or anything at that moment. And now he makes that clear to me. And I let him know that his reaction was not quite appropriate. Well, off to the races we go, kind of escalating just emotions back and forth. And what started out so simply, it just went from there. It just went off. Well, later on that evening, after he's upstairs and in bed and all is settling back down, and my wife comes down, Dawn comes down, and we're sitting there again. And she just kind of quietly and softly says, we don't always have to fix everything. And of course, as a good husband, by now I know that by we, she means me. And that's when I come face to face with it, yet again in my life, of trying to fix things that don't really need to be fixed. And it moves me away from this idea, this power of not trying to fix things, of not trying to fix it. You see, let me explain this first, my own perspective of when I've tried to fix things for myself, a situation, a circumstance that I might happen to be in. What I'm often doing at that moment is that I'm denying my experience. And I'm denying the feelings that I'm having based on that experience, because I'm thinking at that moment that maybe I shouldn't be here, or this shouldn't be happening. I should be further along, or I should feel happier or more grateful, or maybe this should have worked out by now, or whatever it is that I can make from this. Yeah, let's do something with this. Well, screw that. It doesn't really truly work. It'll keep you in motion for a while, but more often than not, that form of fixing is usually more just a coping mechanism to get through whatever it is that's uncomfortable. And of course, you're denying the emotional reaction that you're having. You're denying the experience that you're really having. So by me jumping in too fast with my son, I wasn't giving him that space. I was denying him his own experience. I was denying him just to feel the emotions he was going through so that he could work them through and release. You see, that's really an important step that we so often ignore, is that we try to move on. We try to get out of the discomfort. We try to get out of whatever it is that we happen to be going through at this moment. And we don't actually allow ourselves to process through, to work it through and actually release that. So we end up carrying that stress with us because we know that it's really, truly unresolved underneath. It's bad enough that we do it to ourselves. Let's certainly not do it to each other, or me certainly doing that to my son. And so when we have that chance, when there is that struggle, when there is that moment of frustration or that moment of upset or disappointment or whatever it happens to be, just be there. Even if it's just boredom or a malaise that sets in on a given evening, just be there. Just be with your experience, with your emotions, even the crappy ones. Life is experience. It just is. And denial of that, denial of what's there, it can lead to that misalignment with who you truly are. It can lead to terrible stress that carries around unresolved. You can feel out of integrity or even feeling misunderstood. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to jump right back in and just start going through the motions and the paces or the steps right away, or we may miss so much of what is in front of us. And I think that leads me to the next thing, which is that struggle often gives way. It often reveals your path. It's your path, meaning that it's the struggle that reveals so much of what it is that each of us are trying to clear away, of what we're trying to learn and to accept even about ourselves or this moment, so that we can ultimately move on, so that we can release the old conditioning or wiring or whatever it is that we're carrying around unresolved. It's surfacing so we can do something with it, but we can't do something with it until we experience it, until we're actually there in that moment. And that struggle often shows you the very opposite of what you truly wish for. So again, I go back to this little incident with my son. While initially it was well-meaning and probably a scene that honestly I know is playing out in a lot of family rooms around the world, but I'm reminded by what it was that I desired. I desire in my life calm and patience, clear-headed and clear-heartedness, joy and peace. And I provided none of it because I needed to jump in and play Mr. Fix-It. Well, sometimes all that's needed is a little space, a deeper breath, a moment of pause. Allow that snow globe that's been shaken up to just settle back into place and back into peace. Interestingly enough, it's moments like these that remind me what I'm truly after and how that is actually connected to my purpose. It's revealing so much about that way and what I am really truly after and what I want to express and bring out within my life and within my work. But that's for another episode. In fact, you can even tune in to our live cast that's coming up right now that is about busting out of the purpose trap to break down the myths that surround purpose. And there is so much more that I want to share with you on that as well. If you go over to oneideaaway.com/livecast, you can get a link to that specific broadcast. But until next time, I just want to offer you that moment of whatever you're experiencing. Be there, experience it, take it all in, allow it to just be what it is before you move on. You'll know, you'll feel it when it begins to subside. You'll know when you are supposed to move. You'll know the things that start to come to you that say, okay, we're ready. We have answers. We have solutions. We have resolution in some regard. But you're not going to really truly feel that if you don't sit first and be with whatever it is that's coming up for you. And as best you can, offer the same to others. So until next time, much love. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you really enjoyed it, do me a favor, let us know. You can keep the conversation going and send us a message on our Facebook page, which is simply One Idea Away. Go ahead and tag me in the post or even just direct messages. Also, I would be incredibly grateful if you could share this episode along with someone that you believe could benefit from hearing the ideas and the messages that we got into. That's pretty much why we do this. So you can just go ahead and share it from your app or email it along, whatever works for you. The point is to share, to talk, to discuss, and keep the dialogue going, because it's in those conversations that ideas can take hold and create profound shifts in perspective. That's what allows us to live life more fully, deeply, and consciously. As always, we would love to see you post a review for the podcast in iTunes or whichever app you're using. And until next time, remember, you're never more than one idea away from a whole new reality. This is Luke Iorio in One Idea Way, signing off.